by taking that over there on the bad day.
No, I am Chief Dr. Bernard Atomere Aprioku Okome, Chief and Head of Okome Working House, Egwemebiri, Krike Kingdom, Okrika. Former Chief Medical Director of the Brooklyn Memorial Hospital, now Rivers State University Teaching Hospital. From 2007 to 2010, I retired in the year 2011, having been the head of the BMH. I'm a consultant anesthesiologist. The Apriokus will not allow Nyesom Wike destroy our family's long-standing legacy of values, integrity, and nobility in public service. Gentlemen of the press, this is a text of a press briefing by Chief Dr. Bernard Atomere Aprioku Okome and Professor Innocent Yabaka Aprioku for the Aprioku family of Okrika, Rivers State, on Wednesday, January 29, 2025. This press briefing by the Aprioku family is convened to draw the attention of the general public and in particular Rivers people who are concerned about the embarrassing vituperations and vain insinuations impinging on the personal integrity of eminent sons of our family on the service of Rivers State by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, in his media chat held on the Sunday, January 19, 2025. We have been inundated with calls and personal visits by friends, relations, and members of the public who are gravely disturbed by Mr. Nyesom Wike's utterances during the media chat concerning the allegations made against the Honorable Justice Henry Aprioku of the High Court of Rivers State and Venerable Town Planner Dr. Menakro Aprioku, who rose to the rank of Director, Development Control and Enforcement in the Ministry of Urban Development and Physical Planning. In the aforesaid media chat, Mr. Nyesom Wike uttered the following about our two brothers. Start of quote, look at another one. A matter the Court of Appeal gave that 3 people cannot sit to make law. Appropriation budget. A state high court recently by Justice Aprioku say no, 3 people can pass a budget. Make laws for the state. When the matter is on appeal to the Supreme Court, Justice Aprioku of the State High Court, why did he do so? A building collapsed when I was governor. His brother was the man in charge. Somebody died, and I said he should be dismissed. Yes. Now, for him, Wike dismissed his brother who was a civil servant. Therefore, anything that comes, Wike is involved, I will do this. How can a judge of the State High Court, when a court of appeal has given judgment, which they have appealed to the Supreme Court, now sit down to say that the state governor can deal with 3 people? Stop or quote. Our understanding of the words uttered by Mr. Nyesom Wike is that the Honorable Justice Henry Aprioku's judgment in suit number PHC 3552 CS 2024, the Registered Trustees of Association of Legislative Drafting and Advocacy Practitioners versus Government of Rivers State and 2 others, was a decision informed by bias and that Justice Aprioku was on a vendetta mission because Mr. Nyesom Wike dismissed his younger brother from the civil service. It is important to state that Mr. Nyesom Wike was neither a party or a privy to the parties in that suit. Secondly, since he was not a member of the Assembly of Rivers State, the outcome of the decision cannot be binding on him. We are surprised that the minister, an acclaimed life bencher, ought to have been circumspect because it is unethical to denigrate a judge before the public media without first reading and digesting the facts and the reason for the decision. Mr. Nyesom Wike should not easily forget that he ruled Rivers State with the Right Honorable Dr. Ridima Adams, led 6 assembly members between December 2015 and March 2017, when 26 seats were vacant. It will be pertinent to point out that our younger brother, the Venerable Town Planning Dr. Menakro Aprioku, who was the foremost development control officer in the Ministry of Urban Development and Physical Planning, was never derelict in the discharge of his duties. From the white paper report on the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, he appeared before the Civil Service Commission panel, where he was completely exonerated and apologized for the wrongful suspension. He was never dismissed in the Rivers State Civil Service. And when the Wike government refused to recall him from suspension, but was plotting to dismiss him through the office of the then head of service, he proceeded to the National Industrial Court of Nigeria and filed a suit with suit number NICN/PHC/29/2020 between town planner Dr. Nnamdi Aprioku versus Civil Service Commission and 2 others to restrain the government from executing the unwarranted dismissal plot and subsequently recall him from suspension. It is instructive to note that the state government failed to file a defense at the National Industrial Court for over 4 years. Finally, the government of Rivers State, under the then Attorney General of the state, Professor Zaccheaus Adongo, SAN, SAN, instructed the Senior Special Counsel, CNAK, Esquire, to seek leave of court to settle the case out of court, wherein our younger brother was not only reinstated from suspension, but was paid all the arrears of his outstanding salaries and allowances. However, while the case was pending and before final settlement with the state government was reached, he attained the statutory retirement age and was duly retired. He has, in fact, been enlisted in his pension awaiting payment of the gratuity as a retiree in Rivers State Civil Service. We use this opportunity to thank Governor Sim Fubara, a man full of compassion, and the present head of service, Mr. George Wike, for standing on the side of truth. We therefore say that at no time did Mr. Nyesom Wike's government succeed in carrying out the plot of dismissal of our younger brother, Venerable Town Planner Dr. Nnamdi Aprioku. For the avoidance of doubt, Dr. Nnamdi Aprioku is an accomplished professional as a town planner who discharged his responsibilities with due diligence and rose through the ranks to the position of Director of Development Control Department in the Rivers State Ministry of Urban Development and Physical Planning, beginning with his appointment thereto in acting capacity in 2009. With regards to Wike's allusion that it was his sacking of Venerable Town Planner Dr. Nnamdi Aprioku that is infuriated Justice Aprioku to deliver judgments against his interests, we make bold to state that Venerable Town Planner Dr. Nnamdi Aprioku at all material times exercised his duty of care with professionalism in the execution of his official schedule and in accordance with the provisions of Rivers State Physical Planning and Development Law number 6 of 2003. The Venerable Town Planning Dr. Nnamdi Aprioku is not a civil engineer to recommend approval on the structure of the building. His duties stop at setting out the area space the building ought to be erected as to avoid the use of public utility space. Therefore, the judicial panel, with all due respect, was in error by mischief indicted him when the building engineers and the architects were not confronted with the facts of approval. In the report of the Civil Service Commission's Committee on the Discipline of the Civil Servants, indicted by the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the collapsed 7-story building under construction at 119 Woji Road, Plot 80, GRA, Phase 2, Port Harcourt. The committee found that the Justice Adolphus Enebeli Judicial Commission of Inquiry report that indicted our younger brother, Venerable Town Planner Dr. Nnamdi Aprioku, and Mr. Obinna Edmond, Director of Building Plan Approval on the collapsed 7-story structure, was not supported by evidence, since he's not a structural engineer to either recommend or approve building plans and development of structures. Our younger brother and Mr. Obinna were exonerated by the Chief Sir Mike Elechi-led Civil Service panel. Gentlemen of the press, we respectfully refer you to pages 8 to 11 of the Eze Sir Mike Elechi Committee report and urge you to note specifically that the committee exonerated Venerable Town Planner Dr. Nnamdi Aprioku of any wrongdoing with respect to the collapsed building. Most importantly, the Eze Sir Mike Elechi Committee did not find any dereliction of duty in Venerable Town Planner Dr. Nnamdi Aprioku, that this department's functions and responsibilities, that is, the department's functions and responsibilities under Section 70 to 74 of the State Physical Planning and Development Law, number 6 of 2003, that his duty schedule does not include the inspection of buildings for structural integrity, but to ensure that there was no encroachment on any public utility lane, and that he complied with the requirements of his schedule to the letter between April 2014 when he first arrived at the site on routine inspection at GRA Phase 2, prior to the approval of the building plan to September 2018, when the Honorable Commissioner delineated areas for monitoring and supervision into 15 zones, with each of the 5 directors in charge of 3 zones, and deployed him to take charge of the Choba Obirikwere axis. Therefore, at the time the building collapsed in 2018, he was not the development officer overseeing projects at GRA Phase 2. We will, for sake of emphasis, draw your esteemed attention to paragraph 13 on findings of Eze Sir Mike Elechi Committee report at page 21 thereof, where it is stated that, quote, there is no evidence of professional incompetence in the conduct of the 2 indicted directors, Mr. Obina and Dr. Aprioku, as they did not play any direct or indirect role in the processes that could have resulted in the collapse of the building. End of quote. Therefore, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry report, which Mr. Nyesom Wike purportedly relied on to direct the then head of service to dismiss our younger brother, Venerable Town Planner Dr. Aprioku, was not supported by facts upon which the Eze Sir Mike Elechi Committee could have acted the Wike script and recommend him for disciplinary action. On the contrary, the Mike Elechi Civil Service Commission Committee exonerated Venerable Town Planner Dr. Aprioku from the so-called indictment by the Judicial Commission of Inquiry and subsequently acquitted him, having found him not guilty. It is also instructive to note that the review committee noted in paragraphs 21 and 22 that Dr. Aprioku was not responsible for any dereliction of his duties, save not submitting a report. Please recall that the Director of Development Control had submitted that there was nothing to report in the course of his schedule. He could not have contrived a report just to satisfy the reporting responsibility placed on his office, when what was before him was void activity. Consequently, we invite you to note paragraph 27 of the committee report as follows. Start of quote. The committee finds it difficult to recommend any form of disciplinary action against the 2 officers indicted by the Judicial Committee of Inquiry into the collapsed building under reference, as the reasons for which they were queried and recommended for disciplinary action were not supported by any evidence, verifiable without substantial doubt. Most of the identified shortcomings are systemic in nature, and in the face of the evidence available to this committee, it will not serve the interests of justice to single out these 2 officers and subject them to any form of disciplinary action in the prevailing circumstances, based exclusively on the allegations leveled against them in their respective queries. From the foregoing, let the whole world know that our younger brother, Venerable Aprioku, was never indicted nor dismissed over the collapsed 7-story building at GRA Phase 2 from the Rivers State Civil Service, but was retired upon the attainment of 60 years. Therefore, the people of Rivers State and the entire world should ignore Mr. Nyesom Wike and consider him as a pathological liar on this issue and ponder whether he is fit for public office. Mr. Nyesom Wike, an acclaimed life bencher, called to the bar in 1998 from our findings, was never in active legal practice for at least 1 full year before he became a local government chairman. Mr. Nyesom Wike ought to have restrained himself during the media chat when he made allusions on the person of the Honorable Justice Aprioku as a judge who delivers judgment based on bias, sentiments, and indiscriminate vendetta against anyone he considers an opponent. Even Mr. Nyesom Wike's wife, a humble and respectful judge, formerly of the Rivers State bench, now in the Court of Appeal, can attest and vouch for the integrity of our younger brother in the person of Honorable Justice Aprioku. We have since, after the interview by Mr. Nyesom Wike, personally gone to the court premises to interview lawyers and judicial staff. Our findings established that our younger brother, the Honorable Justice Aprioku, is hardworking and a judge of unimpeachable integrity, impeccable character, and unquestionable courage, whose pedigree on the bench in the last 20 years since he took the judicial oath in January 2005 is established on a sound foundation of 19 years legal practice. Taken from the date of his call to the Nigerian bar in 1986, our younger brother, Justice Aprioku, had 14 years of active law practice and experience beneath his belt before Mr. Nyesom Wike and his wife were called in 1998. It will be pertinent to state from our findings that as a bencher, Wike ought to have restrained himself from commenting on a judgment that is on appeal on a national television. However, his conduct is not strange because he's inclined to always play to the gallery. Mr. Nyesom Wike, wherein he misrepresented the facts and reasons behind the judgment, which in fact he has not read to appreciate the reasoning of the judge. Firstly, from newspaper reports and reading through the judgment in the case of the registered trustees of Association of Legislative Drafting and Advocacy Practitioners versus Government of Rivers State and two others, Justice Aprioku relied on the Supreme Court pronouncement in the case of Dapian Long versus Darie and another, 2007, LPELR page 928, where the Supreme Court per Anogen JSC, later CJN, held that on the 25th of July 2006, 13 members of the House left BDP and joined the Advanced Congress Democrat. The Speaker of the House of Assembly followed on the 26th of July 2006. By the operation of Section 109(1)G of this Constitution, they were deemed to have and actually vacated their seats in the House of Assembly, leaving its membership to 10. It was 8 out of the 10 that impeached the first respondent. The Supreme Court went further to pronounce that the 14 members of the Plateau State House of Assembly that defected from People's Democratic Party and joined the Action Congress of Democracy, ACD, by operation of Section 109(1)G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, were deemed to have to vacate and actually vacated their seats in the House of Assembly, and that the remaining 10 members of the House of Assembly can transact business, except a matter of impeachment, from which 2/3 of the 24 members must be present. Mr. Wike should not complain, for between the year 2015 and March 2017, he, Mr. Wike, transacted business with Right Honorable Adams Datodima led assembly, comprising of 6 members, which is less than 24 members that ought to pass executive bills and budgets. What the judge said is that, following the Supreme Court's pronouncement of Dapia Long versus Darie case, Mr. Nyesom Wike used 6 members out of the 32 members House to present the Rivers State budget on 28/12/2016 and signed the appropriation bill as a 2017 Golden Jubilee year budget. The question the judge asked is, if Mr. Nyesom Wike can use 6 members of the House of Assembly, what stops St. Fubara from using the 4 members of the 32-member House, since it is less than the 24 of the 32-man House? We appeal to Nyesom Wike to stop using media chat to blackmail and intimidate judges in cases where he is neither an adverse party affected by the outcome of the judgment, beneficiary of the judgment. We urge on the public to read through the judgment and reach their own informed conclusions. We state here and now that we have a noble legacy to protect and high standards of morality and good conscience in public service, and to live from our fathers. This noble legacy is a creed too dear to us to give anyone the opportunity to associate us with incompetence or actions guided by prejudice. For the records, and out of abundance of caution, the men Wike sought to drag downhill to the refuge being of solid reputation are the grandchildren of Isaiah Tombera Prekaloko, one of the first Okrika sons to enroll at government school Bonny in the 1890s. We are sons of the renowned teacher, Henry Ewokiri Isaiah Aprioku, the great headmaster, our late father, who is a widely traveled educationist from the time he made the record of being the only student in the entire Niger Delta region to pass his Cambridge Standard 6 with distinction in 1929, to teaching generations of accomplished academics and professional giants in institutions like Calabar National College, Buguma, Dennis Memorial College School, the New Bethel Onisha, Okrika Grammar School, Okrika UNA State School, Ogoloma, etc., left us a legacy of very sound character. As the Holy Writ states, the good name bequeathed to us by our fathers is worth more than gold and silver. The Aprioku family will therefore neither compromise our values nor let anyone rubbish our reputation for political or other reasons. So we ask the question, what educational legacy was bequeathed to Mr. Nyesom Wike by his fathers? Without blowing our trumpet, our family is one of the most educated in Okrika and the entire River State, with professionals in diverse fields serving in Nigeria and in several European countries. In all these, our greatest worry is on the security of the lives of our younger brothers, particularly the Honorable Justice Aprioku, who has remained diligent in the discharge of his duties on the bench of the High Court of Rivers State in the past 20 years. Therefore, it is the height of insolence and demagoguery, characteristic of poor upbringing for Nyesom Wike, to attribute the judgment delivered by Justice Aprioku on the 20th of December 2024 to an imaginary bitterness that arose from the untoward victimization of his younger brother. Town Planner Dr. Aprioku, let Nyesom Wike take heed and stop his predisposition to ridicule the judiciary and others who are blessed with the right discipline, pedigree, and social character. We thank you all for your patience. Signed, Chief Dr. Bernard Atombere Aprioku for the Aprioku family and Professor Innocent Mbaka Aprioku for the Aprioku family.